so much for joining. Welcome to both of you. I'm really glad that we could do this because I know that we've been trying to find the right time. And of course, it's we're kind of living in surreal times right now. Normally, we would be meeting each other face to face and talking to each other face to face. But now, such is the reality that everything has to be in a virtual way. So, thank you so much to all of us for being here. And I think, it's very important to have such discussions because it can inspire so many different people who will be watching us. And I've got two special guests with me tonight. One is, of course, Eba, an extremely dynamic and talented lady who's done so much in the field of, promoting women in sports. She's the founder of Fem Games, and she's got so many different stories to tell. So I'm glad that Eba, you're here, and I'm hoping for a very interactive and fun conversation because that's the idea. But of course, the special guest tonight that we have is the global tennis icon, perhaps the biggest tennis name that you'll hear from India and perhaps from the subcontinent, Sania Mirza. So guys, welcome to both of you once again. I'm glad that we could do this. So before we actually get into the discussion about women in sports and your journeys and our journeys, Sania, I mean, how is it for you personally at this particular time in lockdown? I mean, kya ho raha hai? Kaise din guzar raha hai? I know you've got a young baby with you as well. So, lekin ho kya raha hai? Din kaise guzar raha hai?
Well, the schedule changed a little bit with Ramzan, obviously, because I think that normally I'm usually in England during this time. Me and Eba are together actually during this time, probably for the last, I think, 8 or 9 years, barring the last couple of years because I didn't play. And so it is kind of weird actually to be at home during Ramzan because I'm not really used to it, first of all. Yeah. But I think in general it's a bit tough on all of us because Shoaib's also during the PSL, so he got stuck in Pakistan at that point and we got stuck here in India. And it's kind of so, like you said, it's so up in the air. There's so much uncertainty with the whole thing. So it's really tough to kind of know when we're going to see each other again, when he's going to see Izhan again. And, no amount of virtual or video calls can do justice to actually meeting each other in person. So, but in general, I mean, there's not much I'm doing, to be honest, besides working out for a couple of hours a day, which I try to do. Obviously, having a 18-month-old keeps your hands and feet full, so to say. I mean, he's running now. He doesn't walk. So I always tell him, why don't you just walk? He doesn't walk. He only believes in running. So, you're constantly behind him. So that is something that I think Eba will relate to because she's got 3 of them. Yeah, so I work out, I'm fasting, which is great because I don't get to keep all the rosas usually because I'm playing during this time. So it's actually been really good that I've been able to fast as well. And just trying to honestly do a little bit of extra dua so that this thing passes and sort of like we can come out on the better side of this and on the right side of this, because this is something that is so full of uncertainty, and I think it's really put a perspective into all of our lives really, and in just trying to understand that everything that we do is so temporary if you don't have health, and it's so sort of on the surface, right? There's so much deeper meaning in life. So I think that's something that I've sort of learned. That was my
I think Izhan is
the pandemic.
Speaking of Izhan,
2 months.
I think that he's a true athlete son. That's why he likes to run and not walk. I mean, it had to be that way. He had to have those genes.
Yeah.
But
so
Eba,
but he's also like the only boy. I'm saying that he's also the only boy we've had around. We come from a family of 2 girls. So even my parents actually don't know how to handle him sometimes because like he has so much energy, and my mom keeps saying all the time, she's like, but you girls were never like this. You girls never did this. You never had this much energy. But I guess it's the boy thing probably too. So
totally agree.
Well, you've got one child. I don't have any children at this point of time. Eba, you have three. So I mean that is a handful, and I know I'm seeing all these memes. I'm sure all of you have seen them. KG school kab khulenge? School kab khulenge? When can we start sending our children to school? So I mean, how is it going for you? I'm sure it's. I know that you're getting up and they're having home tutorials and so many other things.
Yeah, Zainab, it's absolutely, I mean, it's exhausting. It's draining by the end of the day. When we've done our iftar and we're, doing our isha, I have not, I don't know where the day has gone. And it's completely nonstop. And now that, Sania has entered the world of motherhood, tumhe to khair, Zainab, you haven't even entered that yet. So abhi tum to khair, I don't know what you're getting tired from. But yeah, I mean, I totally agree with Sania. I have two girls first, and then now I have a boy. They are totally different. I was never this exhausted like I am with a boy, because I can understand running around, activity. Their little brains are always constantly hungry for some kind of activity, and you just have to be on top of everything. It is hard, but you've got to get on with it. You've got to manage with the situation. You've got to you're a mother and a mother of three, and you've got to kind of, each of them have a different age, so you have to kind of sit down and talk to them on their level. The eldest wants something else, the middle one wants something else, the younger one is just full of activity. So it's all physical. But yeah, we'll get there. We're hoping for some good times ahead.
Okay, so Sania, when I posted about you coming on as a guest, one of the most asked questions that I got was like, how has motherhood changed Sania? How has it affected her, physically, emotionally? So, I mean, yeah, I do want to know. I mean, how it's affected you and how it's affected your life overall.
I think that physical changes obviously are extreme, and I think that any person that has become a mother can tell you that the amount of pounding that your body takes is something that you can only imagine. It's really and especially for a professional athlete who was always very conscious of our bodies and very conscious of being fit and all my life being fit. It was a humongous mental challenge for me as well to accept that. I won't lie, but I think that a lot of it went into embracing it as well. And I think it's very important to understand that our body is producing another human being, so it is going to change. I mean, at the end of the day, we're producing a life, and that is something that Allah has given us. He's given women that opportunity and that power almost. So I think that it took me some time to sort of accept that. I think the athlete in me didn't want to accept it, but the woman in me accepted it faster than the athlete. As far as changing mentally or emotionally, I think it was the selfless love that I felt towards another human being, which I didn't think that I was capable of, to be very honest. I didn't know that your heart can feel so full, just looking at something that is probably not even born yet, as soon as you get pregnant, and just going through that whole journey of getting bigger, knowing, oh, it's the size of a bean, or it's the size of a grape, or it's the size of an apple. It's so funny, but that's how literally all these apps on this phone, and that's how they describe it. Oh, it's the size of a pineapple, and you're like, oh my gosh, like I have a pineapple in my stomach. So it's stuff like that. And but I think that as an athlete, I'm so, all athletes are so self-centered, and they're so sort of consumed by their own selves and their own routines and their habits and their matches and their practice and their recoveries. I think they sort of become that self-centered. It's part of our job, and I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. I just think that's the way it is. So for me to know that I can be selfless towards another human being who's so little was actually really overwhelming, and I think it evolved me into a better person as well.
The change of status in our lives. I mean, I have to ask you this because I remember that when I got married, a lot of people during PSL asked me, "Acha, to tum kaam karogi? So are you going to continue working?" And I found that as such a and by the way, this is being asked by some very educated, notable people. I'm not talking about
I don't
just
doubt that at all. Trust me, I'm
average
not surprised.
person on the street. I'm talking about people that I work with, and I was really it really I was just like, why is this even a question? So I'm sure this has happened, of course, with you in your changing circumstances in your life when you got married, or let's say when you had a child. And why is it that people out there have this mentality कि जब भी किसी लड़की की जिंदगी में उसका status change होता है तो उसका career भी automatically they assume कि अब खत्म हो गया है?
So I think that a lot of it is cultural. I think that it's so deeply embedded in us that a woman is probably complete only after she's married, and after she's married, she's only complete once she has a kid. And after she has a kid, if it's not a boy, God forbid, then when she has a boy, that's when she's a complete family. She's had this complete life. And I think that is something that is wrong on so many levels, but it's unfortunately part of our culture, and it's something that we as independent working women have to face it on a daily basis. Like you said, when you got married, like what's the relation of you getting married and working at PSL? Like what is the relation? That it's not related at all, but the thing is that so I've been at press conferences where I have won tournaments and won Grand Slams, and I've sat at press conference and I've been asked, okay, so so when are you going to have a kid? Like at the press conference of a Grand Slam win with the trophy sitting in front of me, as if no matter what I did in my life, until I actually became a mother, I was not complete as a woman. And I think that I always wanted to be a mother. Like that wasn't even the question. But my problem with that question is that I don't think that you would ask a male athlete the same question. And I think that if you ask, I think equality starts from there. It's equality is a mindset. It's not really, oh my God, I can like beat the crap out of you. It's not. That's not equality. Of course, physiologically we're different. I mean, it's not about that. The comparison is about equal opportunity. The comparison is about equal behavior towards both the sexes. And I think that is one of the reasons, because as much as we like to believe that we don't live in a man's world, we 100% live in a man's world, So I think that a lot of things are slightly harder for women when they try to go out and reach their dreams. And I think that when I got married, me and Shoaib decided to have a kid 8 years after our marriage. And it was a conscious decision because, I mean, I was playing, and unfortunately or fortunately, my job doesn't allow me to be pregnant and continue to play, for till I'm like 8 months. I mean, at least you can do that. You can have a baby and you can still work for like 7-8 months while you're pregnant. Like I can't do that, right? Yeah. So the thing is that like people, I think, believe that we were not able to have kids. Like they actually believe that. Like the kind of questions and the kind of conversations that used to happen. And I was like, are you serious right now? Like, have you guys, like, I don't know, thought about family planning, thought about the fact that I'm still playing tennis, thought about the fact that I'm number one in the world. I don't know, just a few minor details in my life that you might have missed out. So I think that they just thought that, ab shaadi ho gayi hai, ab bachcha ho jayega, pehla bachcha hoga, phir dusra bachcha ho jayega. It's a pattern that has been chosen for women over centuries. And it's very difficult for us in one generation or two generations to get rid of that. I think it's something that we have to collectively work as women and also believe that we deserve that equal opportunity and that equal treatment as anybody else in the world. It takes a very strong man to be married to a strong woman.
What I don't understand is why a woman has to be only complete when she's married, A, and B, when she has children. What happens to her career? Like if we go to Sania, why do we not concentrate on what she does on court and what she's been able to achieve on court? How can we not just round that off there? So I want to move to a next kind of topic, which I think relates to both of you quite well. I mean, I know Sania probably goes through it day in, day out, but also Zainab, you in particular, when it comes to working in very male-dominating environments, right? So like Sania, tennis is probably a 50-50, I would say. It's you've got a good gender bias there. I mean,
not in India. I mean, in the world, yes, but not in the subcontinent. It's not 50-50 at all. I mean, it's probably a 80-20 ratio, right? Like in the subcontinent, how many girls do you actually see going out and trying to become a professional athlete or professional tennis player? It's not that common. I mean, it's 20-25%. But in the world, sure. I mean, I think in the world, the field I'm in, it's 50-50. But I mean, you guys are in male-dominated professions too. I mean, like I said earlier, we do live in a man's world. So most things are male dominated, right? Like it's not about male bashing at all. Like I just think that it is what it is and you have to call it sometimes. So.
But what I want to know is how do you, I mean, I know certainly how I have dealt with being in the PR and media industry which is very male dominated. But how do you deal with insecurities that come out that you can see from men that see successful women in front of them? Because I see that a lot. And I think, like, for example, Zainab, you are in, you're a TV broadcaster, for example, and before you and even with you, there are many, many male big names, right? That are very successful men. How do you deal with the insecurities that men show, that could show potentially? I don't know if they do, and I'm not implying they do, but, this can happen. And then I want Sania to tell me as well, because I know that you've played with a lot of big names as well who are men. And, do you find that their attitude changes slightly when they see that you're more successful? Does that happen? Or, does it happen with men around you in general?
I think, I have seen that. I have sensed it. I mean, I think we're all perceptive women. And when somebody is insecure of you, I feel like, at least to me, it's very obvious. But it is something that I don't let affect me, because at the end of the day, I feel like your focus should be on your job. And regardless of how the other person is doing, it doesn't make a difference. At least to me, that's how I keep my sanity. If I start getting into, okay, what is he doing and what is she doing, or what is somebody else doing, and why is this guy insecure? Like, it's not the first time I've had people come to me and say, oh, so and so was saying this about you, so and so was saying this about me. And I was like, yaar, ab main kya karu? Matlab, agar wo kar rahe hain, to unko karne do. Like Sania said, that if they're being losers, you can't really get affected by that. And if there are men that are insecure, that is a sign that you're surely doing something good, because they're feeling insecure about you. So that's the way I deal with it. Like, I just ignore it, and I try, and my focus is obviously on making myself better as whatever I'm doing, as a presenter. I have to do my research and prepare well, and I'm sure Sania will tell you the same, that she tries to just focus on her job, basically.
No, I think that you're right. I mean, I don't really face that insecurity in tennis players, so to say, most of the time. I mean, I don't think that our fellow tennis players are like that. I think because just as athletes, I think they do have a little bit of a broader spectrum in life, and they've also seen a lot, and they've seen struggle, and they've seen a lot of the world as well. So I don't think that I see that, but in general, yes, I think that men are, some men, not all men, but I think some men are definitely threatened by a strong woman. I think they're threatened by a woman with an opinion. They're threatened, and it not just has anything to do with me playing tennis or Zainab presenting. It could also just be the fact that we three of us are sitting here and having this conversation, which is uncomfortable for a lot of women. I think that some men do feel threatened by that, and they do feel a little bit, oh my God, like, acha, why are they having this conversation? They are so out there, or they are rebellious women. I mean, women it's so easy for women to get that tag, right? Because the minute you have an opinion about something, you either become bossy, or you become, oh my God, she's so completely out there. I mean, usse, hamari biwi ko unse dur rakhna chahiye, because, God forbid our wife starts questioning us when we come back at 3 a.m. that where we came from. Something as stupid as that, I'm saying that, so I do feel that in general in life, not necessarily on the court or with my peers, but in general, I think that some men do get threatened by that. And I do feel that a lot of the times, the questions that I do get, the uncomfortable ones, come from that insecurity of that particular man. Because I think that he's trying to, put his insecurity into that question, and honestly, I don't have time for that. So, I just think that we just really have to, the onus also is on women. I always say this. I mean, I do a lot of work with the United Nations, and every time I speak, I always say that it's not just a man's job to respect women a certain way or treat them equally. It's also equally the woman's job. She needs to believe that she belongs, and she needs to believe because empowerment really comes from within. It doesn't come from the outside. First, you need to believe that you need to be treated a certain way with certain dignity and respect and equality, and only then, I think that other people outside will treat you like that, man or woman for that matter.
Hmm. We're talking about, of course, insecurities and attitudes that we've seen around us. But one of the most important things, Sania, that, we've seen from you is the act of resilience on court. Over the years, from whatever we've all followed of you, there was a time when, you were getting criticized, ke, oh, ji, ab singles ka career khatam ho raha hai, she's coming down the ranks or whatever, right? You get to see so much written in the papers. But every time we've seen you come out of adversity and sort of make a statement, like despite all the injuries that you had, you went on to win, the doubles championship, Wimbledon championship in 2015, and then you had a great run winning so many Grand Slams. How did you do that in terms of hearing all the naysayers say all this about you, and then for you to sort of show that kind of resilience and commitment? What was going on in your mind during that time?
So there's 2-3 things. The first important thing is that I don't read the newspaper, or I don't watch the news. So that really helps with a lot, because you won half the battle there, because they have no power over your mind if you're not actually reading or seeing what they're saying or writing about you. So I advise a lot of people. So when I open the newspaper, I literally don't see the sports page. मतलब मैं देखती नहीं हूँ, मेरी आदत ही चली गई. अभी तो मैं खेल भी नहीं रही थी. Even then I was not looking at it, but it was just not. I used to go, अच्छा चलो party page पे जाके page 3 में देख लेती हूँ. I see the front page and that's it. Like that's how I would read the newspaper, because there's so much rubbish written, and you don't want to. Why do you unnecessarily want that negativity in your life? So that's the first thing. The second thing is that मैं ना बहुत जिद्दी इंसान हूँ. Like I'm a really really stubborn person, and I'm sure my husband will vouch for that. So I think that for me, when somebody said to me कि तुम ये नहीं कर सकती ना, I was like, अब मैं तो करके दिखाऊंगी. Like it was, I'm like that, and that works to my advantage most of the time. It doesn't really work to everybody's advantage who's with me, whether it's my parents or like my husband. I think sometimes it's detrimental. But the thing is, I think that that's one of the reasons that I was able to achieve everything that I was able to achieve, because I was, fortunate enough to be the first to do so many things from this side of the world. And it's definitely very special to be the first to do all those things, but it's also extremely hard because there's no actual pay. Like there's nothing, nobody has paved a way for you. You're sort of just like finding your own ground, and you're making your own mistakes and learning from your own learnings. So, it was a very difficult thing for my entire family, not just for me, because my parents were new in it too, and they had sacrificed their entire life to try to make their child a tennis player or professional tennis player to win Wimbledon one day, while everybody else, whether related or not in the country or not, told them that are you crazy? Like, what's wrong with you? Do you think that she's going to become Martina Hingis one day? Like, literally, that was told. So, for me, it came very naturally to sort of prove people wrong, but I also did it for myself, because like I said, I'm very stubborn, and मैं अगर कुछ ठान लूँ, then I don't leave it. I'm like, मैं तो ये करके रहूँगी, and obviously Allah is very big, and he made me, and because of him I was able to achieve so many things.
So there's two things here, Zainab, that I really want to highlight for the younger generation that's watching this, especially for girls that want to perhaps become athletes or play a sport. There's two things. I'm not going to say become stubborn, but self-belief, parental support. Like, I can completely vouch for what Sania is saying. Sania's parents, everywhere that I had seen Sania play, Sania's parents were there. Whether it was uncle or whether it was auntie, or whether it was both, लेकिन उन्होंने अपनी जिंदगी मतलब बिल्कुल जो है ना वक्फ कर दी है, like they say in Urdu, Sania के लिए, and for her to pursue her career, and I'm sure, Sania obviously feels the same way about it, but I think without your parental support as well, I don't think that anyone can get anywhere, even if it's as simple as doing PE at school. Pakistan में यही मसला सारा है.
Yeah, it's impossible. I can I can tell you with personal experience that it's just not possible to do that. I think it's, you know, when I started playing tennis, I was 6, and you know, it was not that at 6 saal we were like, "Acha, we have to win Wimbledon." It was not like that. It was just a process, and things kept happening. And you know, I was obviously good at the game because I was beating. When I was 8, I beat a person who was 16, for example. So I mean, that was sort of a hint that maybe I'm decent at what I'm doing. So I mean, you know, my parents were. So, but my parents were pretty young. I mean, when I was 6, then my dad was only about 34, I think. And, you know, he was really young, and he was as old as I am almost. And, you know, he basically sacrificed his entire, you know, new married youth, so to say, in trying to make his daughter this tennis player, and against the odds of 1.3 billion, literally, where nobody had ever done it before. And he was dreaming of that, and my mom was dreaming of it. And, you know, they both did the same thing. My mom was even younger. She's like 4-5 years younger. So I think that once parents realize the things that you can gain from sport for a boy or a girl, I think it becomes extremely beneficial for the child in their development as a human being. Because I think sport teaches you, I think that sport teaches you so many life skills that even just studying the books cannot teach you. Because I think that sport teaches you how to win, sport teaches you how to be humble, sport teaches you how to lose, sport teaches you how to bounce back, sport teaches you that as long as you want there to be, there will always be a next time. It teaches you not to give up. It teaches you to be, you know, I mean, it teaches you so many things. And I do think that the person that I am has nothing to do with what level of sport you play. It's about playing sport. It can just be playing in your backyard. You know, it can be playing in school. And that's why it's so important to have sport in schools. And I advocate for this all the time, saying not just for girls, but for everybody. Because for boys, to khair, it comes naturally. Ladka hai to cricket to khelega hi at some point in his life. I mean, especially coming from this part of the world, right? But as a girl, I think it's even more important that you put them out there and not tell them कि नहीं, you shouldn't play sport क्योंकि तुम काली हो जाओगी, तुमसे शादी कौन करेगा? Because these are the things that I have faced until I was like, you know, until I got married, and I'm like, guys, शुक्र करो हो गई मेरी शादी, now can I play tennis? So you know, it's really like that. So I think that sport teaches you all that, and sport teaches you, most of all, it teaches you to not judge people on their color, on their caste, on their religion, on their borders, or from which country they come from. And I think that's why sport is such an equalizer, and it's such a leveler, because there's no athlete that you'll meet who'll be like, oh, I don't want to talk to that guy because he comes from a certain country, or that's the last thing that comes to my mind when I meet someone, is which country or what color they are or what religion they come from. And that's what sport has really taught me, and which is why sport is so important in everybody's life.
You know, but you talking about equality here. Speaking of more, you know, contemporary issues in terms of generally that we've seen in the world of sports, not just tennis, is the issue of wage gap. I mean, what are your thoughts on that? Do you think that gap is closing between men and women, or are you happy with the way things are at this point of time?
So in tennis, I think every profession has that wage gap, whether it's acting, whether it's, I mean, every profession has that wage gap.
I have it. Yeah.
Whether it's sport. Yeah. So, and I, you know, in tennis, we have equal prize money over the last few years. We get equal prize money in Grand Slams, which is a huge step. But that doesn't mean that they didn't come with this struggle. Even today, you know, so when people, especially a lot of men, come out and tell me, no, we live in an equal world. What are you talking about? Tum to aisi apna feminism kahin bhi jaga deti ho. And I always say ki nahi bhai, we don't live in an equal world, because the fact that we even get questioned today saying ki why is it that the women get the same amount of pay as the men proves the fact that we don't live in an equal world. The question is not why, the question is why not? Why should not both the genders get equal pay? You know, the same reason why so many whys come about why not should a woman and a man be treated equally? Why not should there be more women, for example, in my industry, or from this part of the world? Why shouldn't more girls play a sport? The same reasons, all those things. I think it all comes under a huge umbrella, and the pay as well comes under that. So I think that until this question goes away, okay, Kyun bhai, why do you want the equal treatment? Why do you want the equal pay? Why? Until then, we will be fighting for an equal world.
Yeah.
It's only when this question goes away when we'll know that we live in an equal world. I don't know when.
I don't even understand why there is this question. Why do we have to pose this question? Like, for example, in Sania's or any other athlete's position, they're putting just same amount of hours in fitness, in playing the game, in traveling, and everything. Matlab, effort to wahi lag rahi hai.
One thing is for sure that when I picked up a tennis racket, for example,
Yeah.
it was never to earn money or become famous.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's changed a lot in the recent time. Matlab, I run a tennis academy over here, and the kind of questions that I and our parents and the coaches face is, "Acha, 2-3 saal to ho gaye, abhi tak ke ye kyun nahi jeeti, abhi tak," because they're not doing it for the love of the game. And the very important thing is to love what you're doing. And I don't think that you can be really good at something if you're not loving it.
Absolutely.
So yes, money and all that is important, but it's very later in life. I think that the first step is to love what you're doing, and you need to play sport because you love it, not because कि मुझे इतने पैसे कमाने हैं या मुझे रेड कार्पेट पे चलना है या मुझे I want to be famous.
Do you think that passion for the game is lacking in the current generation, or for example, the kids that come and train in your academy? Do you think that their priorities are somewhat misplaced?
पता है क्या? I think when I picked up a tennis racket, there was no Sania Mirza. There was no question of a Sania Mirza, right? When I picked up a tennis racket, I had to look for idols outside of the country. And I idolized Steffi Graf, for example, because it was so far in your thought. But nobody even thought by playing tennis, you can become famous. But that was not a thing. It was non-existent. So now that there is a Sania Mirza and there is a Leander Pace or a Mahesh Bhupathi or an Ehsan Qureshi in Pakistan for you guys, I think that it's become a thing so you can become famous while playing tennis as well. And suddenly that switch clicks and they're doing it for the wrong reasons. And you can never put in those hours for the wrong reasons. If you're going to do it just to make money, and because there's no guarantee. Aap agar medical student ho, and you will become a doctor eventually. But if you're playing cricket or you're playing tennis or you're playing any other sport, there is no guarantee. The odds are definitely against you. So you have to play it for the love first, and then eventually, if you're good enough, you will make it. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, I just feel that it'll attract a lot more people if there was no gap in wage, which is what I mean. That if we were to entice more girls to come through as athletes, professional athletes, and the fact that, now they're promoting, like the ICC, for example, they've really promoted Women's World Cup, for example, these things help to bridge the gap. We don't see that many women's tournaments, for example, at the World Cup level on TV. We'll have to stream them or something. Tennis is a different thing completely. We always see you on TV. Tennis has a much better kind of broadcast leverage. But when it comes to other sports, there's not a lot of women only sports that you can see on TV.
You have an example in your house. You should ask Azhar Bhai. Sure, they looked up to people, but any athlete that has made it will tell you that they did not do it for the fame. The majority of them. They will tell you because they will tell you that we are here because we love playing cricket or playing tennis or whatever it is.
Absolutely.
I agree with both of you, and I would say that actually applies to anybody who has led the way in a particular field. That's just how it is. There's no supplement or there's no replacement for passion and drive. You can't substitute that with money or wanting to become famous or wanting to reach a certain level. It all comes down to your focus. What is it that you want, and for example, in Sania's case, it's probably I just want to become the best at what I'm doing, right? And it's the same with you, and it's the same with me. It was never a case of I want to become a TV star or whatever like that. It was always, I just want to make sure that I'm doing my job properly.
Yeah, exactly. So, you want to be the best that you can be. See, the competition is not really with the entire world. It's not with with another person. The competition is within yourself most of the time, and the competition is that am I being the best version of myself, whether that's as a person, whether that's as a tennis player. And if or as a mother, and if I feel that I'm lacking somewhere, I want to get better the next day, because that's the only way to achieve greatness, I think, is to try to be the best person that you can be. That's the only way. I don't think there's any other way.
Okay, so, guys, we've had a great discussion so far, and some really thought-provoking topics that we've discussed. I think it's time to move on to the lighter side of things, Sania. And I'm sure you're also tired of speaking, and you probably need like a water break or something like that. But yeah, so we're going to do a short rapid fire. Sania, you've done this plenty of times. So you probably just have to do it once more. And we're all looking forward to that, because it's just nice to be, getting to know somebody's lighter side. All right. So your first crush?
Akshay Kumar. He's also still my crush, for the record.
Yeah, he's super fit, by the way. I mean, he could be an athlete. The way he's kept up his
he's amazing.
fitness.
Yeah, he's really good. Well,
One
don't ask me. I
habit
think he's good even when in Mohra. So, like, I mean, I liked him from then.
Oh God, that was like years ago.
Yeah. One habit of Shoaib that you absolutely dislike?
So when we're having a conversation and he doesn't speak, like, when we're especially when we're having an argument or something, and he just keeps quiet, and I want to like break something, because I'm like, can you just speak and finish it off, because then it's gonna lag. So I can't, like, I'm like this person who wants to get it over with, and he's that person who wants to be like, Aram se baat karenge, like we will sit and and he'll be like doing his own thing. He will just look at his phone, and I just go but. So I hate that. I can't stand it.
Yeah.
Ebba can relate to me on that. See, she's nodding because her husband is exactly like that. Like, I have witnessed it.
Crying.
Exactly
it's so correct. it's so right. I swear to God, they were separated at birth or something. And I mean, obviously, mother is a lot older to Shoaib, but I'm telling you, this is the same conversation I had with Sania, and she was like, "Have you had an argument?" I'm like, "Yes," because she knows. And then I'm like, the guy just doesn't respond. I need some reaction, right? And he's just like,
oh my God.
So yeah, no, I think it could be a man thing, or it could just be these two.
No, it's not a man thing, buddy. It's your husband and my husband thing. It's not a man thing.
They've spent far too long together.
Okay, one habit of yours that Shoaib dislikes. I mean, I'm sure there's something.
I think that I'm really impatient. I think that's what he probably dislikes the most about me.
Who is your favorite, or who is your favorite superhero?
I don't want to be cheesy and say Wonder Girl, because she's not, because we're all talking about women here, but I'm gonna go with Superman.
All right. Favorite actor and actress all time?
Bollywood.
Yeah, I mean, you can, yeah.
I mean, I answered that. Akshay is actor, and actress. I mean, it kept changing, but I think like right now it's Kareena.
What is the one thing that you would put on your bucket list?
So it's very weird, because I've traveled this whole world, but I've never been to Maldives. And that's on my bucket list. Can you believe it? Like, I've never been to, because I've never had time to holiday. So I want to go there.
Yeah. I just went there.
We were actually
in
planning
December.
a holiday right after this pandemic ended. But like, we need a holiday.
So she was like, where can we go on holiday? And I was like, where have you not been? Don't know. And she
was like, Maldives.
Yeah. And I was like,
guys, Maldives
it has to be child friendly as well.
Ever have you been to Maldives?
Navy. I have not been to Maldives.
Okay, guys, pack your bags and go, because I went for my honeymoon in December, and it lived up to the expectations. Whatever you get to hear and see, it's true. It is that beautiful. Okay, so are you a morning or night person?
Night. I mean, we're having an interview at 11:30 p.m.
Yeah, I can tell you.
I'm a night person.
We're all night owls. Yeah. Toughest opponent on court?
I mean, I don't know. I guess Serena. I mean, she's the greatest ever, and I've had the opportunity to play against her a bunch of times, so probably her.
If you had to describe yourself in 3 words, apart from stubborn and impatient, what would the third word be?
Two very important characteristics.
That's what makes Sania Mirza. Do you not know that?
So extremely, I think, honest, like definitely, because like मेरे ना छुपता नहीं है कुछ, like whatever I feel वो आ जाता है बाहर, like there's no filter, so that comes out.
Great.
So honest, sarcastic.
Oh God, yeah.
Very sarcastic.
Yeah.
And I'm actually really emotional. I hide it pretty well, but I'm pretty emotional.
Yeah. She's very sensitive.
We get to see that with a lot of strong women, that they all have a very emotional side to them, although a hard exterior, so to speak.
Like my favorite movie is Kuch Kuch Hota Hai, which I don't think many people can guess by my exterior. Like I'm the Kuch Kuch Hota Hai, Dil To Pagal Hai kind of. Yeah. That is my zone of movies.
Yeah. And she's extremely romantic, by the way. Let me tell you that as well.
How do you know that?
No, I know, because all these mushy movies she watches, and then we'll gane, I'm like, what? You like that song? Really? She'll be singing. Really good voice, by the way.
Oh my God, I really don't.
She does.
Stop it now. Because I know the next thing is going to be like sing, and I'm not going to do that. So there's no way.
Okay, how did Shoaib propose to you?
So as romantic as I am, like Ebba claims, he's the most unromantic person that you will find. Like we're like so extreme. So he's extremely like very to the point and very like practical for the most part. So a few months after we started seeing each other, he basically told me that, look, he just told me, he didn't do anything. He just said, ki bhai, I want to marry you, and I will come to your family and I'll meet them. Now you tell me, when do you want to get married? Because I want to marry you. So let me know if it's a yes, and whenever it's going to happen, it's going to happen. So whether there will be this year or whatever, at that point, we were discussing dates. And that's literally what it was. And I actually found that extremely, like really real at that point, because I felt that there was no pretense in that. It was literally just a raw emotion, and he felt it and he just said it. And I think that, that probably attracted me towards him so much, because he's so like, he's not pretentious when it comes to things like that. Like he doesn't understand, ke, acha, main abhi, go down on my knees and like put some lights with the heart shape. He doesn't get all that. Like it's not him. So
he's just direct, blunt, say whatever he has to.
Simple.
So you're not gonna. Okay, yeah, simple. You're not gonna like this. Current favorite song, and hum it if you can, please.
No, I'm not humming it.
I had it written.
I don't even. So it's Ramzan. I'm not even listening to songs, guys. I don't have a current favorite.
See, that's a very good way of getting out.
No, what about it? What about an old favorite, not a current one?
वो कह रही है ना रमजान है, वो गाएगी नहीं.
हाँ, रमजान है ना. But I was, what was I listening to? I don't even remember. क्या मैं सुन रही थी? Oh, there's this really nice band, and I think they're called Sage. They like they do this acoustic like music when they do remixes, and they're really good. So like, yeah, that's what I was listening to just before Ramadan ended. Too bad. You should have interviewed me then.
पहले करना चाहिए था हमें interview. We could have got her to sing.
Acha, so what is the meanest thing that anyone has ever said to you?
Oh my God. The list is long. I'm going to write it and send it to you guys.
No, but one that stayed with you. One that stayed with you.
So I think that I'm pretty sure there were meaner things that people said, but I think the one that stayed with me was people judging me at that point, and I kind of understood what they were doing with everybody, all other women that were bigger in size, and I was pregnant, like when I was 8-9 months pregnant. I think that the kind of, my gosh, people were mean. Like I couldn't believe it, and there were women that were mean. Like they were meaner than the men, and I was like, how can you be that way? Like how can you? And they're probably parents already. They're probably mothers, and the way that they. But I put on 23 kilos, so I was humongous, and I mean, but I had a great time. I ate whatever I wanted for the first time in my life. I was doing whatever I wanted. I mean, I was producing a life, so I didn't really care what I looked like. But I did put on 23 kilos, and my gosh, people were mean. Like I can't really pinpoint, but like the things they used to say, and I was like, my God, like people can be really mean to someone who's about to give birth and probably have the most painful experience of their life, physically.
Yeah.
And how much, please tell me, how much did you have to kill yourself to lose those 23 kgs? I mean,
I lost
how did you
26
do that, man?
kilos in 4 months.
Wow.
Yeah, I lost 26 kilos in 4 months. But like I said, I'm very ziddi. So everybody, and my own friends, they were like, I never thought you'll become thin again. I never thought that you'd and I used to be like, I was like that big, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to make a comeback. I'm going to play tennis. And they probably thought I was crazy. They were like, what's wrong with her? Like, she's 20 kilos overweight. What is she talking about? And
no, but
yeah,
you have to mention whether you starved yourself to death or were you like on the treadmill
I
24/7?
couldn't starve myself because I was feeding at that point as well. I was feeding my son for like for first few months. So I wasn't starving. I was just eating really healthy, and I had a dietitian. The only thing that I was doing, and I was so glad because my doctor actually encouraged me. Even though I had a C-section, I worked out the first time 3 weeks after I gave birth. I went for a walk, and she was the one who pushed me, and she said, you're healthy, it's fine. Like, and you hear all these stories of people like having C-sections and not moving from their bed for like 6 months. And she's like, it's totally fine. You're healthy, you're fine, you can do it. And I'm glad she did because, otherwise, the weight kind of just sits on you.
Yeah.
So I was not starving. I was doing
roti chawal nahi khaye.
No, I was eating. I was just not at night. Raat mein main nahi khati thi. Dopahr mein I used to eat brown rice or roti, and mornings mein I used to eat like lots of egg whites. I used to eat a lot of spinach to have my greens. I used to eat a lot of methi because I was feeding, like I said. So I needed, to eat that. And I used to eat just healthy stuff. I used to snack a lot on fruits. But I was working out about 2.5 hours a day. I used to do cardio for 2.5 hours a day. Just cardio. Which was so tough to do because the time just doesn't pass. I think मैंने 2 series खत्म किए हैं of like 5 seasons each of different, Netflix shows on just because I had to keep it in front of me and walk or whatever, run or elliptical or whatever it was.
Wow, truly inspirational. Acha ji, describe the following in one word. Martina Hingis.
Best partner.
Mahesh Bhupati.
My first Grand Slam partner. My first Grand Slam I won with him. So, very special.
Nadal.
Amazing ambassador for our sport.
Federer.
Perfectionist.
Djokovic.
I can't say it in one word, but I think that he's going to beat both their records.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Most embarrassing moment that you've had that you can remember, something that stayed.
Embarrassing moment, thankfully.
Not had one.
No, I mean, I'm sure I've had nothing worth remembering.
So we have Muhammad Qasim Saif on Twitter, and he asked you, what is the most important advice you can give for today's generation? In a few words.
Just to believe in yourselves, no matter what anybody else says, and don't be scared to think outside of the box, because I think that, as long as you believe in yourself, then the sky's the limit.
Yeah. Okay, and then we have Naz from Twitter, and she said, how important was the role of your parents, which you'd already answered earlier on, in the success, and especially when the majority of young women are not encouraged to pursue professional sports, especially in our
Yeah, like I said earlier, I think I wouldn't have been able to do it without them. And I think at a time, especially when it was like 25 years ago when I started playing tennis, and at that point to say, coming from Hyderabad, from a Muslim family, to say that I want our child, who's a girl, to play a sport and pursue a sport, came from a very, very broad-minded sort of family, and I was lucky to have them as my parents at that point.
You're very lucky that way. So we have Umar Saeed, who's a Hyderabadi himself, because I know him. He sent a question on Facebook, and he said, what's the best biryani in Hyderabad? And I know you are a big biryani fan, so you would have an answer for that.
So I think a lot of the Hyderabadi biryanis are like overrated in restaurants. But we have like, so I go to this one place in Old City, and we actually go every Ramzan, which we won't be able to go this time, to have halim and biryani, which is called shadab. And yeah, so it's like literally in Old City. So a few times that I go, I do wear a burqa, because like it's literally like, I mean, it's crazy over there. So
Yeah.
but it's a lot of fun.
We have a Halim stories here with me and Sania, but we'll tell you about that another time. Halim stories. There was Jaza Asim from Instagram, and he asked a really cute one actually. What was Izhan's first word?
Mama. Actually, Amma. He started calling me Amma, and then he stopped, and now he just called me Mama or Mom. पता नहीं है, but अंग्रेज कहाँ से वो बन गया है इधर रह के, लेकिन he just started calling me Mom.
Cute. And Zainab Salman's asked you, who has been your inspiration?
Well, I used to look up to Steffi Graf, like I said, outside for tennis inspiration.
Yeah.
And I think really like at home, I think my mom was a huge inspiration, because I think that she, the go-getter and that sort of, you know, that aggressive attitude towards going and chasing your dreams, I get it from her.
Yeah. I think Zainab, you have a similar kind of, you know, your mom was a go-getter and she was quite influential in your pursuing your career.
Yeah, I think the parents have got everything to do with how you turn out, right? Whether it's your personal life or whether it's your career, and there's always a backing and support which is required, which I always got from my mom. I think perhaps because my mother is herself, you know, a working individual, and she's very career oriented. So, you know, she probably understands the need for, you know, having some kind of, like she always says to me, and she always said to me, that you should have some purpose in life.
Yeah.
And by that, you know, she meant that there should be something that should give you a sense of fulfillment other than what you're doing at home, you know, like that's just the way she thought.
Yeah.
And I think that that's something that's always stayed with me, and it's become a part of me. So
That's great. Anish has asked you, Sania, is there a biopic of yours coming out? There's been a lot of talk about that, hasn't there? Biopic.
Yeah, I've signed with the producers already, which is Ronnie Screwvala. So
Okay.
there is before this pandemic, actually, I was supposed to like meet the directors, and it was kind of moving on a faster pace. But now obviously everything is. But I have signed with the producers already.
Oh, brilliant. Okay, cool. I'm not going to ask you who you want your biopic to be played by.
Please don't.
Okay.
Please.
are you sick of this question?
Yeah, I'm sick of many questions. First of all, who is going to play? Who do you want to play you in a biopic? And the second most asked question in my life, so who do you support when India plays Pakistan? And I'm like, guys, get over it. Like, it's done now. It's 10 saal ho gaya. Like, really now. It's not a good question. Like,
in fact, we had that laid out in our questions when me and Zainab were putting this together. And one of the questions was, and I just thought, you know what, she's asked this so many times. I even know, I've rehearsed the answer. So, you know, I think people know that it's absolutely, it's such
but I just want
question.
to tell people, it's not a good question, guys. I know you think that it's a really good question and it's like really smart, and it's really not. Like, I mean, like, just get over it. 10 साल हो गए हैं, बच्चा हो गया अभी, और मतलब अभी भी वही question. Like, we should come up with new things now.
Yeah, you still have to, you know, वो कहते हैं ना कि tell everyone that how patriotic you are. Are you patriotic? I mean, इसमें patriotism की कहाँ से बात?
नहीं, वो समझते हैं कि जब इंडिया पाकिस्तान खेलता है, हमारी बाकायदा लड़ाई होती है, physical fight, like we punch each other. कि मतलब that's what they want to hear. Like, I'm like, what is it that you want to hear? You want to hear that we have a pillow fight? You want to hear that we punch each other? कि अच्छा, I tell Shoaib to go and sleep on the couch. Like, what is it?
I think it's just a way of, you know, gauging where are her loyalties. I mean, ये गद्दार तो नहीं है किसी किस्म की. She's not a traitor. Like, on both sides of the border.
But nobody asked Shoaib. I've played Pakistan at Fed Cup too. Shoaib से तो कोई नहीं पूछता कि वो किसको support करते हैं. क्यों नहीं पूछता?
Yeah, it's true.
That's a good point. That's a good point. पूछना चाहिए, just the way. You know, men are not asked about whether they're going to leave their careers after they get married, and you know, whether they're going to It's the same way. It's the same way. That's just how things work.
Everything
But
comes
guys,
back. A lot of things, not everything, but a lot of things come back to that. But I just want to put it out there that, guys, this is not a good question. It's not smart. We are all over it. We don't want to hear this question or the answer to this question anymore. If you have any more India-Pakistan questions, please come up with new things, because अब 10 साल के बाद, decade के बाद नए questions आने चाहिए.
In fact,
yeah,
we are so bothered. We're so not bothered by, like people think, agar, like for example, when Azhar's playing a match, that my whole entire, world revolves around that particular match that he's playing. Yeah, I'm watching it and I'm really into it, but I have other things to do, right? So sometimes, I mean, I remember it was India, Pakistan, and me and
No,
Sania
very
went up.
bad.
I think, in fact, Sania doesn't go to any of the India, Pakistan matches. We were sitting having chai, right? And we were watching it, but we were having chai, and it was, it was chill. So, and hamari koi ladai nahi hui. Matlab, it's not that it becomes this, sole purpose of your life, Sania, that, that Shreya is playing, and India and Pakistan are playing, and that all you want is him.
But I want him to do well, like against anybody. It has nothing to do with anything, and like him playing or doing well. Obviously, I want him to do well, but like that doesn't consume me. Like that's not like that doesn't take over my life at that moment. Like he has a good day, he has a bad day. I have a good day, I have a bad day. We come back home, we either talk about it, or sometimes as sports people, we understand that nobody wants to talk about it, and we go to sleep like normal people. Like nobody is having like arguments, and like there's no kushti happening ke tumne kyun aise kiya, ke India Pakistan ne kyun khela. It's really not that dramatic. I know that people think they want to have a dramatic answer. There's no drama.
Yeah.
People just love a bit of controversy. That's what it is. Any kind of sensational headlines or whatever. But guys, I think it's been a wonderful chat. It's been great fun speaking to you, wonderful ladies, and Sania, thank you to you in particular for taking out the time for all of us. अब जो है basically time हो गया है, यहाँ पे तो 12 बज गए हैं. It's 12 o'clock here, so I think it's time for my midnight pasta before I start fasting again. Start preparing for Seri, and then I'm probably gonna work it out tomorrow. Burn the calories that I'm having during the midnight. So yeah, thank you so much, guys.
Thanks, guys. It was lovely.
Thank you, Sania.
Yeah,
Sania, वैसे, I have to say thank you in public to her now, because she's a very busy woman.
You must.
Yeah, she's a very busy woman, and I'm grateful कि आप हमारे कहने पे आ गई and all that. But no, thank you both. And मेरा तो इफ्तारी का भी time होने वाला है, half an hour में. So thank you so much, and I hope that ladies out there learn a lot from inspirational words and stuff that Sania said today, and Zainab, obviously. Thank you, Zainab. Thank you to you as well for your time. And yeah, we'll see you.
Bye.
Bye. Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.